Hi, team. This is George. I want to say welcome to week 3. We've had a fantastic week 1 and week 2. This week we started off in week 2, we started off in the wikis where both Group A and Group B, everybody participated in basically showing what requirements are for different jobs and things like that for ID and performance consultants. So that went well. Then you summarize all that, and we brought it into our discussions. Let's go ahead and take a look at our discussions real quick for week 2. There was a lot going on with week 2, and both teams were able to get theirs in, and then the individual discussion responses were posted as well. So I appreciate the effort that it takes to do that, all the back and forth and everything that's been going on with that. So it's been some good discussions. I hope this learning about the 2 different jobs helped with learning what the HP is going to do, or the human performance consultant is going to do, as well as firmed up more even about what IDs do as well, because we can get a little bit from both in that one. So let's go ahead and jump into week 3. We're just going to look right here real quick. Now, one thing for our performance assessment, we have an overview here. How many times have you run into what have we done syndrome? We're going to talk about this in a minute and how we always did it. We always did it this way. I imagine that you have probably ran into this as many times as I have. This can be so entrenched into organizational culture that it is very difficult to remove, or there can be certain instances where it's rather simple to remove because new things happen, new things are coming in place. And then we're also going to talk about a performance assessment, kind of compare it to a needs assessment, because a performance assessment is different. There's plenty of different ways to do a performance assessment as well as a needs assessment. So throughout the week, we're going to get into that. So let's go ahead and jump into week 3. What is performance? Well, you know that performance is not just behavior and it's not just outcome, even though sometimes when we talk about it, it does sound like it's just outcome, but it's not. It's the combination of performance behaviors. So it's a combination of behavior and outcome that makes a product. So that's why we think quite often when we look at this, we look at it from the outcome standpoint, but we have to remember that's only part of the picture. So we always want to keep that behavior in there. And that's one of the biggest main differences between the ID. I'm about to get pounced on by my cat here. No, okay. The main difference between an ID and a performance consultant is they're looking at behaviors and outcomes. Now, a lot of times you may say, well, IDs do that too. Well, there's plenty of different ways where sometimes IDs act as performance consulting within an organization. It's just not a firm role, so they do take that into account. But performance consultants are going to look at a little bit wider span, whereas ID is looking from a training perspective. The performance consultant is going to be looking from a gap analysis or a gap perspective. So the gap is my current state, future state, and everything in between is the gap. So what does it take to go from current state to the future state of where I want to be? So that's the biggest thing, but difference that I found between an ID and a performance consultant. Now, here's where we're going to talk. We've done it this way forever. And I brought up this airplane flying around because I worked for Lockheed Martin Aeronautics for many, many years, and with the Skunk Works. And what we did, we had a competition for this aircraft here. I don't know if you are familiar with it or not, but it's F-35. It was called the JSF, Joint Strike Fighter at that time, and we were steeped in a competition with Boeing. And what was kind of neat is if you look over here, that's the Skunk. So that was, Skunk Works is where they built everything that was they called it the black projects. Those were the secret projects, things like that. So the Skunk was actually coming into what we call the gray world, where some of it's classified, some of it's not classified. So there was a cultural barrier here when the Skunk Works was building the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, because they had a very classified slash secret culture. So what was interesting is, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because some of the folks had the "we've done it this way forever" mentality, and it had to be changed in order to win. So, and it was completely an effective domain issue. So, in other words, it was completely a mental motivational issue as far as that goes to break it. And what we did to overcome that, or to break that mentality, was see this hat with the three aces. I think it's Ace of Hearts, Ace of Clubs, and Ace of Diamonds. It was called the hat trick. If you know hockey, soccer, any of that, hat trick is you get three goals. So we had three goals that our competitor did not have. The first goal was to uh, well, the whole thing was, it was to take off vertically, so just rise up, no assistance, no forward motion, take off, break the sound barrier, and land vertically again without um, refueling. Because before this time, it was impossible. It was not possible for an aircraft to do that. It had never been done. So in order to do that, we had to have a brand new engine, different things. A lot of engineering went into it, as you can imagine. But the little hat, right? Whoops, sorry, the little hat right there, X-35B, the hat next to the skunk, that took all of that mentality of we've always done it this way, and it packaged it real nice for this hat trick and motivated people to no end. People were working aggressively to get this done and to make that happen. So what shifted was the focus of the mechanics, engineers, everybody working, that the focus shifted from we've done it this way to we want to be able to take off, break the speed of sound, land without refueling. So it just shifted the focus. So a lot of times, to break those paradigms that organizations or cultures within the organization may have. So because remember, organizational culture is real. Organizations have their own culture. So if you can sometimes just shift the focus, and then you'll have a common focus and a common goal, then guess what? That we've done it this way forever goes away. And that was the way that we did it there. We simply shifted the focus, and it worked. So that was from a performance consulting perspective that had nothing to do with training, or didn't even have anything to do. Everybody had the right tools, the right equipment, everything else. It was just a shift in focus. So it was an environmental shift, if you will. And we'll be reading about those this week as well. But it was an absolutely amazing project to have a little piece and part of, to watch happen. So the next thing is, what is a performance assessment? We're going to be diving deep, deep, deep into that. So I'm just going to kind of hit from a cursory mode. We've all seen the ADDIE model up to this point. And what happens with a performance assessment is the ADDIE model, we're looking at specific behaviors within the analysis, and we're looking at how it applies to training. So how to train, how to train, how to train. Whereas from a performance assessment perspective, we're aligning all of our organizational goals and everything else, and we're looking at the fastest, best, and cheapest way, or as I like to say, the fastest, bestest, and cheapest way to overcome whatever the issue is. So if we're looking at like the ADDIE model, there's been a decision somewhere where training's already kicking in. And when we do that, we still have an opportunity as an ID in the analysis stage, to say, hey, we don't need training, you just need a poster board, or you just need X. But the opportunity for that is often limited, whereas a performance consultant, that opportunity is the entire opportunity. It's we're looking at what is the gap analysis. So when we analyze what's our future state, or what's our current state, future state, and then all this in between, we have to look and see, and we have to do our assessment to see how to move from current state to future state. And one thing that I've noticed is a lot of times there's a disconnect on what the current state is and what the future state needs to be. So sometimes it's quite a bit just a communication issue between different organizations within the larger company. That happens quite often as well. So we're on to week 3. Everything's been going 100 miles an hour with our 6-week 6-week format this week. And let's go ahead and just take a look at our announcements real quick. I need to exit that, sorry. Our announcements. And notice the mid-course survey, it's going to be coming up on Monday. We're also, thanks for everybody who is participating in this poll. We have some great things because I just find it fascinating when we can boil something down to a few words because it makes us think really deep into that subject. We have a guest speaker Wednesday, July 12th. So Kelly Wardman is going to be speaking and talking about access, credibility, and trust. It's going to be a very interesting webinar, guest speaker, so I hope you're able to make it. If not, I believe they're going to record it again, so I should be able to post in the announcement. But it's always nice to go when it's live so you can ask questions if you happen to have any, because she's a great resource to be able to do that. All the information is right up top there. There's our information if you need anything. So welcome to week 3, and I look forward to more conversations this week and getting further into human performance technology.